Hey everybody, it's the Coin Guy here with a somewhat somber video, but also a very interesting video. As you know, Queen Elizabeth II passed away in September, and we now have King Charles III. Now, being the Coin Guy, I've been asked a number of times since then, does this mean we're getting new coins? So now I'm going to elaborate basically what's probably going to happen. The short answer is, are we going to get new coins? Yes. The long answer is, yes, but it's going to take a while. Let me explain why. Now, coin production is a long and arduous process. You need an engraver to make a die. You then need to have it approved. It then needs to go into circulation. So what you're most likely going to see is 2023, the Mint's going to produce Queen Elizabeth II coins, and then potentially later in the year, or maybe even 2024, they will produce Charles III ones. It means the two are going to overlap for a period of time. Because you also have to remember there's still a lot of Queen Elizabeth II ones in circulation. They're not just going to throw them all away just because it's a new monarch. So they will circulate together for a period of time until basically the Queen Elizabeth II ones slowly get phased out. So there's going to be probably a dual system going on there for a while. Now, the British Mint has already produced at least one coin. I believe it's a 5 pence piece, which will circulate soon, or I believe it's actually a commemorative issue that has Charles III. But what you have to remember is that commemorative pieces are minted less. There's less of them. So you have to mint, say, 5,000 compared to an entire circulation round, which might be 5 million. Or I don't know how much the British Mint mints every year, but I'm sure it's quite a bit. I probably should know that. Homework for later. The additional problem here, and this is actually where it gets very interesting, because as a Canadian, we are part of the Commonwealth, so former British colonies and British territories. The Queen is still, or I should say now the King, is our monarch. Officially on paper, they are a head of state. We still do respect them, and they are still on a lot of our currency. So it's not only a matter of when will the British see new coins, but also when the Canadians, the Australians, and a number of the other Commonwealth nations start producing them. I'm very curious to see how this goes, because one of my first questions that I even asked myself, and I had to do a little bit of research here, is does a country like Canada need permission from the UK to make Charles III coins? Basic answer, no. If you look at all the Commonwealth countries, there's 14 of them. Not all of them use the monarch on their currency, but like Canada does, Australia does, Bahamas does. There's a couple of them. It would be practically impossible to synchronize them all so like they all come out at the same time, because a country like, say, Jamaica is going to have a very different minting requirement to Australia or Britain or Canada. The additional thing to this is they're all not necessarily going to use the same design. So if we look at examples like so, from the last minting of Queen Elizabeth II from Britain, Australia, and Canada, we can actually see that the Canadians chose a different portrait to use, because there are different portraits that circulate and certain ones are used, personal preference of the country and of obviously the mint. Because in the case of Canada, the Mint is actually a private organization. It's a government private organization. I don't fully understand how that stuff works. I'm not a business major. So it's going to depend which one do they use. Does Canada make a very quick decision and say, well, we're going to use this portrait of Charles III, and maybe Australia takes a little bit longer? It's going to depend. The last point there to consider is that the UK can't actually control other countries' currencies in that regard. They could advise, but the UK can't turn to a country like Canada or Australia and say, we don't approve of your coinage. It doesn't work that way. They don't have quite that much control. Again, they can strongly advise against it, but they can't actually put a stop and say no. So there you have it. I hope that answers some of your questions. I, for one, am looking forward to the new designs. I know that sounds really morose and slightly morbid, but I think from an art and numismatic point of view, it's going to be very interesting to see. Presumably sometime next year we'll start seeing them. That would be my best guess. But again, I think, as I've said on some other videos, if you look at British pre-decimal coinage, there was a period of time where you actually had Victoria all the way to Elizabeth II circulating at the same time. So that's probably going to take, I'd guess, 5-10 years for that to slowly be phased out. And that's it for today. So keep asking your questions, like and hit that subscribe button, and looking forward to hearing from everyone. Bye-bye for now.